Hi, my name is Tanya, and I'll be your trainer covering schedules. Feel free to follow along in your own software. You may want two screens as you're following along, so you can see the recording in one screen and follow along in your software in the other. Keep in mind you can pause the video, you can rewind it, you can even skip to specific chapters. Feel free to move along as needed. Let's go ahead and start this journey learning about schedules. Our goals in this recording are to understand permissions, create a new category, add teams and positions, invite people to serve, and manage your schedule. The scheduling tool was designed to help manage people serving in your church. Whether they serve on the welcome team or in the children's ministry, a schedule will help you invite them to serve, communicate with them, and more. So what is a category? It's how you choose to organize your volunteer teams, positions, and schedules. For example, you may have one schedule category for your children's ministry volunteers, or you may have one for nursery, one for preschool, and one for elementary ages. You want to think about who leads and who serves together. Here's an example list of various categories you may be building. Cafe team, elementary age, nursery and preschool. These are your categories by which you're assigning people to in which they're going to serve. So what is the schedule then? The schedule is when people serve. Our scheduling grid allows you to invite people to serve on specific dates and serving times. So here's an example of a scheduling grid. You'll see 2 services and then moving on into the next week. And this is where we add people, and this is where they choose to accept or decline a serving opportunity. What is service planning? It's a feature of our software that allows for down-to-the-minute schedules of services. It integrates with CCLI's Song Select, which allows for import of chord sheets, lead sheets, vocal sheets, lyrics, and sound samples. Here's an example service plan. So let's go into admin access. So who can do what? Those with schedule admin privilege and master admins can create a category. Who can manage a category? We have an additional role that you can assign to a specific category of category organizer, and then the same other 2 roles. Managing a schedule, we have our schedule organizer, category organizer, schedule admins, and master admin. Privileges for teams and positions, so managing teams and positions. Team organizer, category organizer, schedule admins, and master admin. You can find this particular chart on our Knowledge Center. It will continue to be updated in that area, but you're welcome to take a screenshot of it now as well. The biggest factor here that I want to acknowledge is that the only one who receives any sort of notifications about declines, swaps, and replacements will be your schedule organizers. A category organizer has access to everything in regards to your categories and your schedules. They just don't receive the notifications. A team organizer only has access to teams and positions. Schedule organizer only has access to schedules that they're assigned to, and they receive the notifications. So it's really helpful to think through this list and think, who would need what access? Let's go ahead and jump into the software and start looking at building a category. I'm logged into the software. I'm going to choose Schedules and Plans. Here you'll see a list of my categories that I already have in existence. Let's go ahead and get an overview of a category, and then we'll create one. I'll choose my welcome team here. We have Schedules and Plans, so that's what you're seeing here. I can create more weeks here. I can also view all my weeks or view specific weeks. This is where I'm going to invite people to serve, acknowledge how many people I need per position, and so forth. On the Teams and Positions tab, you're going to see the team. These are our teams. The ability to add a team organizer, and then the positions. When you click on a downward arrow, you'll see the people filling that position. So what does that mean? Filling a position means you've already said, yes, I would love to be a part of this team, and I'm going to join the volunteer team, and you can schedule me on a regular basis to serve in this way. We're going to break down all of these areas in just a moment. I just want to get us started so we understand when we're creating a category, what is it we're actually creating. Let's head back to our category list. And let's begin by creating a new category. First, you're going to title it. So think traditional service, contemporary, children's ministry. Think about what it is you're having people fill. Let's choose a children's ministry. If your church has more than one campus, you can choose which campus you're adding this on. Now we want to decide when they serve. Is this a weekly schedule? Is it a daily schedule? Monthly? Or does it repeat at all? When do you want this to start? You're just indicating here which week that you want it to start on. Here you determine what day. So now what we've set up is a weekly reoccurrence pattern on Sundays. Now we're going to determine the times. So 9 a.m. to 10:30 is the default start time there. You can change it. You can title your service. The different time increments are in 15-minute increments here. And then we have serving time. I'm going to add 2 services. When I add in my second service, it's going to default that hour and a half for me. Now I can also add in what's called associated time. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, and then we'll break it down a little bit. Associated time meaning, what time do I want them to arrive? So in this case, I've created a 30-minute arrival time. You can have a special name for it, like prayer huddle or something like that. And then I switch this over to associated time. I'll create another one for my second service. You see that half hour? It's going to default that for me. And associated time. Now you don't have to embed an associated time. It really just depends on how your church likes to communicate arrival time versus serving time. If you want to keep them in one fair swoop, you could just come in and say 8:30 is your start time here and continue on till 10:30. Or you can use the associated time so they know that there's a separate thing that they're arriving for. They're arriving early, maybe it's a prayer time, so maybe it's called a prayer huddle. Once you have all your service times in place, and you can add in Saturday, you can add in different days here, you can go ahead and choose Next. Now we're going to add in our teams and the positions that fall underneath each team. Now you can add as many positions as you would like. So maybe you have first grade teacher, second grade teacher, etc. You can add in as many positions that works for your church and based on the current language you use. Now let's choose Next, and we're ready to launch. That's going to land us right onto our scheduling grid where we can begin setting things up. The first area I think we should set up is here under the Settings gear. Edit Settings. This is a very important role. Whoever you need to receive notifications of declines, swaps, and replacement emails, you want to add them here. You can add multiple people and save. Next, you have a reminder message. So you can set up your own custom reminder here, whatever it is you want to say here, and when you want the reminder going out. Maybe I want one going out 3 days before at noon, and maybe I want a second one going out the night before. The reminders go out as emails and/or text messages, depending on people's personal communication settings. Choose Save. Under Settings again, we can choose whether or not the same people are serving at all serving times or not. So if they're not serving on both serving times, we'd leave them as they are. If they are, we collapse them, and then we can look at the different service times by hovering over. Now, I like to recommend if you have multiple services and you need the same number of people per position, I recommend collapsing them and then adjusting these numbers next. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. If I come here and say we need 10 elementary teachers, 2 childcare, for our nursery, 3 for kindergarten, 5 for preschool. Once I have those numbers in place, and what these numbers are doing is just saying this is how many people we need. Once we reach that number, we're good. If we're not reaching that number, then we know we need to reach out and find some more people. And you'll get an email about that. Now, if I come back up here and split them up again, those numbers copied over for me. So it just saved me a little bit of time. The next one is same service plan for all serving times. So for children's ministry in particular, you might be building a service plan. In that case, then you can choose to have the same one for each service, or if you have some unique services coming up, you can then turn that off. We'll talk about volunteer signups as we go along. This little guy is a serving rotation option, which will allow me to populate names onto the grid based on a rotation that people serve in. We have to build them first before we can engage that option, so we'll take a look at that in just a little while. Here's where I want to choose whether or not I want labels, so name tags with their position on it, printed through a check-in station. So if I have my volunteers show up at a check-in station to check into this schedule, do I want name tags printed for them that would have their name and then their position that they're filling on the name tag? Coming here, let's just go ahead and turn that on so we can see what that would look like. So that would be saying, yes, we want all of these to get name tags with their name and position on it. And then I can jump over and do the same for the next service. Now, what's important about my setup is I'm going to create more weeks soon. So when I create more weeks, I want all of these things in place before I do that. I can add a file to each service or either service. And now let's take a look at associated times. So in this case, I'm looking at my 9 a.m. service, and I want my 9 a.m. volunteers to show up at 8:30. I do not want them showing up at 10:30, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this option and save. For my second service, I'm going to do the opposite. I don't need them arriving at 8:30, I need them arriving at 10:30. So we are set up. Now we're ready to go ahead and create weeks. So choosing Create Weeks, starting August 2nd. So I'm going to go here and start August 9th. We're just going to do August. You can go as far in the future as you'd like. Not everything can be modified en masse. And what do I mean by that? I can come up here and make some changes. So edit settings and apply my changes to all future schedules. But these areas you would have to change one by one. So you might not want to go too far into the future. All right, we are set and ready. Before we start adding volunteers, however, I would like to go back and I want to show you the settings gear. We are on the Children's Ministry Volunteers category, choosing Settings. Here's where I add my category organizer. So that category organizer It's a person who has access to this entire category. They can do any and everything that needs to be done for this category. They do not receive email notifications, however. I can add as many people here as I would like. The next one is a plan organizer. So if you have somebody that needs access to add a plan, but they don't necessarily run the category, you can add them here. You do not need to be both a category organizer and a plan organizer. You just need to be one or the other. Next is your week structure, Sunday through Saturday, or do you start your services on Saturdays? Next section is very important. Do you want your volunteers to be able to swap or find replacements? If so, can they swap or find replacements only on the position they fill, within the team, or within the entire category? So let's take this particular category, for example. We have a nursery team, we have a preschool team, and an elementary school team. And if I say within the category, then my nursery volunteers can swap with somebody who is serving in the elementary age. If I use within the team, that means if I have multiple positions within the same team, like elementary, they can swap with each other. Within the position is just that, position to position. If you're using rotations, it may be helpful to use accepted as the default assignment status, meaning that instead of asking people to serve, I'm already landing them on as accepted. They're already serving in that position on that particular date, in that particular time frame. This only really works when you have people that are already committed. So for example, maybe I serve as a nursery worker every first Sunday of the month at the first service. I'm committed to that. That's when I serve. That's when you create a rotation and use accepted as the default status. You can also choose to automatically resend invites to people who are pending and been notified. So for those people that haven't responded yet, you can go ahead and send out a new reminder, and you can choose the timing, and you can add more than one. So you can remind them to your heart's content. This last section does not relate to the reminders, but rather it is your invite email text. So when I go to invite someone to serve, what is it that I want to say here? You can add in your own text, and when all this page is set up, you can save. All right, so we're all set up. The next thing we want to do is manage our people. So who is it that's serving? We have multiple ways to manage people. You can add your volunteers from the Schedules grid, from the Teams and Positions tab, from the Serving Rotations tab. Let's start on the Teams and Positions tab. Now, if I need to, I can add a team organizer. In this case, Pam has the ability to add or remove people from here. So does my category organizer. Schedule organizers do not have the capacity to come to this page and add people through this area. Now, how do I add people? I'm going to click on the down arrow here, and I can choose to add person. I can add more people. And continuing to add as many people as already committed to serving in this role. I have another option from this area, and that's import volunteers. I can pull them in from a whole different category, choosing next. And import. You can also import them through a group. So if they happen to be in a group, I can import all 27 volunteers over. We'll skip that for now. And you would do that for each position. From this area as well, since we're here, I'm going to show you this. Under the ellipsis, you can enter a description, number of volunteers you want for this area. You can also require a background check and save. So you can do that per position. The red triangle means they do not have a child worker approved date in their profile. Now let's go to a schedule and let's look at how to add people right to our schedule. Once you're on your schedule, you can choose Add Volunteers. Now, I've already added people to the team and position of elementary teacher. So when I click this button, I'm going to see all of those names here. So I can go ahead and add them right here. We need 10. If somebody is not already added to a team and position here, I can add them up here. Now that I've done that, Jamie is also added to the team and positions area under this position. Now you'll notice here under nursery, we have not added anyone yet to that team and position, so no one readily comes available. We can start typing in their names. And I can continue to add the people I need. This will also add them to the team, to the position. So let me show you that. Back to teams and positions. Nursery. They are all three now added here. Now, because I don't have any previous schedules on this particular one, so previous weeks, I'm going to actually go to a different category. And I'm going to show you from there what it looks like to add them from a previous event and so forth. So here we go. We're going to go back to categories. And I'm going to choose the children's ministry here. Now you can view specific weeks by checking boxes or use the actions option to view all. Now I've had this particular schedule going in the past, so because of that, I can come up here and choose Populate from Past Event. I can go as far back in time as I need to. And now I have people added here. I have not notified them yet. Over here, I can do the second service and do the same thing, or I can use a rotation. I'm going to break down creating rotations for you in just a moment. But once it's created, you can click on the rotation, choose your team, and apply. You'll see that rotation added people quickly, and now we're ready to go. Other things that you can do is drag and drop an entire section over to another section. You can move one profile over to another section. All right, so that's getting people onto our scheduling grid. I am going to break down rotations for you in just a little bit. What I want to show you before we move over there is some of your actions that are available here. This little guy here lets me know that there is some sort of conflict. So in this case, Dave has set up his own preferences and does not prefer to serve on this particular week. So I would imagine this is the 4th week of the month, and he only prefers the 1st, 3rd, and the 5th. Now I can continue to invite him to serve, or I could choose to remove him. When I remove him, I would add in different volunteers. And here I've got people already lined up and ready. Other things I can do is maybe Jessica is a committed volunteer and I don't need to invite her. So I can come here and go ahead and choose accepted for her. The not notified lets me know I never actually invited her. It's just understood that she is serving at that time. You'll notice the other statuses here are declined and checked in. Declined means that individual chose not to serve. Checked in means they arrived and they were checked in as arriving and serving. Let's go ahead and send out our request. So once we have people added, let's add a few more people here. When you go to add somebody, if they do have an overlapping assignment, it'll show you that here. If I go ahead and add them, I can click on it to see what it is that's in conflict here. When we're ready, we'll send out our request to volunteers. All right, so now we have people on our schedule and we can go in and change their statuses as needed. We can see conflicts and so forth. So that's how you invite people on a schedule. Other actions: message your volunteers, hide 0 needed positions, edit teams and positions, print the grid, download into an Excel spreadsheet. Let's now look at building serving rotations. So you see here I have serving rotations already in place. You can title them whatever you'd like. And then you add people there that serve on that regular rotation. Coming over here, it might make more sense to see it like this. First week, first service. So Chandler, Monica, they have committed to serve as first grade teachers the first week of the month, the first service. That is their commitment to the church and their volunteer status. If you have people who have committed to certain time frames or certain teams, you can create your rotations. Once they're in place, then you can add them easily to your schedule, like we saw just a little bit ago. Now, how do you create a rotation? Choose Add Rotation and title it. Once it's created, you can go ahead and say how many people you need per position. Then you can begin to add your volunteers. Let's go ahead and delete this one. Choosing the ellipsis and delete. Gives us a little more space there. And then you can add in your volunteers. Now this is pulling from my teams and positions, that tab that I already put people on. So I can just go ahead and select the people that are serving in this rotation. And then you just build out your rotation here. Other actions are message volunteers or reorder your rotations. So if I choose reorder, I can put them in the order that I would like. Voila. So that's rotations. Let me remind you what it looks like to add them to a schedule. Choose rotation. Add your team. All right, that is adding people through a rotation. There's a couple of other things I want to show you, so I'm going to move back here. I'm going to access a different category. Accessing my welcome team. I'm going to view some weeks here, so let's just go to August 2nd here. I have 0 needed positions that I've hidden. So I'm going to unhide them and show you how this little resource could be used. Now I have a coffee cleanup and coffee setup position here. Coffee cleanup, I don't necessarily want them to arrive at the first service. I want them for the second service. So I'm going to say 0 needed positions here. I do need them, however, for my second service to come in and clean up. Then my coffee setup crew, I do need them at the first service, but I don't need them at the second service. So those are my 0 needed positions. If I have anything like that where they serve at one service, but they don't the other, I can come and hide them. So now we only see the setup and the cleanup, and that keeps my page a little clean as well. My plan is to walk you through every area that has some sort of communication, some sort of emailing option. They also have a text option, but that's really just with the invitations and the reminders. The message volunteer options will simply be an email. So coming here, choose Include Recipients From. This allows you to narrow down who you're actually emailing. Are you emailing everyone or just those based on a certain status, based on a serving time, based on a position? The red triangle indicates there are people without email addresses, so you can click on the recipients, and if you do have their email address, you can add it in here. Your message, some few options down here to make your message nicer, and you can attach a file. So this is one area. Choosing the back arrow, and now teams and positions, we're going to see another message option. Include recipients from, and this is based on teams and positions, so you can narrow it down to a specific group of people. And finally, serving rotations. Under Actions, Message Volunteers, include recipients from, a particular rotation, a particular team or position. You can also select a specific team and message just those volunteers. Now that we have everyone in place, we could start to add a plan. There's an entire workshop video covering service plans and song library, all of those things. I recommend you watch that to learn how to create and build a plan. From here, I could just choose Add a Plan. If I have a template, I can choose from a template, or I can create a brand new one. This is what the plan looks like, and I can flesh it out as needed. I want to show you one more thing in regards to managing people. Now we looked at the ellipsis area before. Let's go ahead and look at that again. There's two other options here I wanted to show you. Not only can you change their status or remove them as a volunteer from this particular schedule, but I can preview their profile. Of course, what I see about them will be dependent upon my access levels and their privacy settings. I can also manage their serving for them. Here you can view any requests or assignments that they've already accepted or that they've been requested to serve on. If they have browse open positions there, you can see that as well. Just a note, you'll see at the top, this is for Janie. This is not your own personal serving, but it is for Janie because we clicked on this option from the grid. Here I can edit her preferences for her per position she fills. So for example, I can come here and say she prefers to serve Sundays between 9 a.m. 10:30 a.m. and I can add a second time. You can do that on her behalf for each position she fills. Availability will indicate how often she's available to serve. As often as needed, a number of weeks per month, or for specific weeks. The final option is blockout dates, or if she's going to be on vacation, in this case, you can come in and block out those dates for her. Choose the start date, the end date, and then put in a reason. Then save. You can remove those blockout dates by choosing Clear Blockout. You can also do partial days. Sliding that button over, and I can choose partial times in a day as well. One last thing is we want to show you do have reports available under the reports area here. You have various reports you can take a look at, people's assignments, their schedules and statuses, etc. You can also go over to People, Classic People page, Search. You have several searches you can run based on schedules, based on being on a category, serving in a position, and serving in a position relative range. And then you also have the ability to build custom reports using that same search criteria or other criteria. In your volunteer report that you build yourself, you can find all the positions they serve in, any blockout dates they've set up, their serving preferences, and the team they're on. That's all I have for you on schedules. Thank you for your time. I hope you found this video beneficial, and I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day.